What's up, everybody? Malik here, and we have reached the second day of Stage 3 here at the Overwatch League. And let me tell you, we got a highly competitive day in store for you. 5 of the teams that are competing today sit at the top half of our standings. And 3 of those teams, all 3 games, feature somebody from our Stage 2 playoffs. We have the London Spitfire taking on the Houston Outlaws, the Philadelphia Fusion taking on the Boston Uprising, and we're kicking off the day with the Florida Mayhem going up against NYXL. Any NYXL fans in the building today? We got a few. Now, the Florida Mayhem, they actually closed out Stage 2 pretty strong. They won a majority of their games, and they took Seoul Dynasty to the wire in their last game of the stage. So they're looking pretty good. The NYXL, though, as you guys all know, they're on top of the standings. They're the best team. They're our Stage 2 champions, so it's really a matter of who's going to slow them down. Anybody think Florida Mayhem can slow them down at all? No? Hey, I have faith, because they look really good at the end of Stage 2. But anyways, guys, Blizzard Arena, are you ready to get this day going? I am too, so let's go ahead and get this thing started.
Los Angeles, make some noise. It's day 2, baby. We're here for Stage 3 and 3 more awesome matches coming your way. It's Puckett here at the desk, and I'm joined by the analysts. We got Sideshow, we've got Reinforce, and today we see some awesome big-name squads facing off.
Yeah, like Malik said, everybody that was in our Stage 2 finals is represented at some point today. We should have some fiercely competitive games.
Yeah, and I'm especially looking forward to this game because Florida Mayhem, they're not among the top teams, but they have been looking better.
Taking a look at the overall standings, we should catch you up with where we're at. We're past the 50-yard line. We're in the second half of the regular season, and so far, you can see it's the big 3, New York, London, and Seoul at the top. But Philly and Houston starting to challenge. Boston's still in the top 6. But after seeing the Valiant yesterday, you got to think this is a team to look out for moving forward.
Absolutely. The new team, of course, with new team chemistry and a new approach. Space looked amazing yesterday, earned the player of the match honors.
Looking at today's matches, though, Sideshow, I have to ask you, what are you most pumped for? We mentioned it. 5 of the top 6 all playing here on day 2.
It's got to be that Philadelphia-Boston rivalry. We've seen these two teams clash so many times. They both have very aggressive play styles. The sparks fly every time these two take the field.
That match is coming up a little bit later. Right now, we start things off with Florida taking on the #1 seed, and New York XL is coming off a massive victory in Stage 2. We caught up with them after taking home the championship.
스테이지 우승해서 너무 기분이 좋네요. 딱히 이거 말고 표현할 방법이 없는 것 같아요. 너무 그냥 기분이 너무 좋아서.
We got your grand finals coming up right now. Philadelphia Fusion in the New York XL.
일단 저희 마인드셋이 약간 잘못돼 있었고 플레이 스타일이 저희가 생각했던 부분하고 좀 많이 달라서
그리고 사실 좀 필라가 올라올 줄 좀 예상을 못 해가지고 런던전 좀 준비를 좀 많이 했던 게 2라운드까지는 좀 많이 방황을 한 것 같아요.
So Philadelphia just taking advantage, getting really aggressive as they push on in.
One more. Can you believe it? Ladies and gentlemen, the Philadelphia Fusion stand on the precipice from being your Stage 2 champions with a 2-0 map lead at half.
2세트 끝나고 나서 저랑 이제 몇 명이 이제 그냥 우리 잘하던 거 하자. 그러니까 원래 저희 이제 스테이지 1부터 계속
And that is how you bounce back from 2 lost maps.
뭐 좀 약간 확신이 이제 이길 거라 이제 확신이 들었던 거는 아마 리베로가 그거 저희 볼스카 완막을 하고 이제 공격 상황에서 갑자기 상대 2명 동시에 헤드샷으로 땄을 때가 가장 그 딱 터닝 포인트인 것 같아요.
Set him up and he'll knock him down. It's a game of dominoes. Libero with 2.
이번 경기 MVP는 혜성이가 될 것 같아요. 그러니까 위도를 잘 쓰는 상대의 팀으로 위도를 훨씬 더 많은 걸 보여줘서.
And the NYXL stand finally at the top.
뭐 일단은 당연한 거겠지만 이제 스테이지 3, 4도 이제 계속 1등을 유지하는 게 목표고요. 그리고 마지막에 시즌 우승하는 게 가장 중요할 것 같아요. 그래서 이제 타이틀 우승은 한번 했으니까 스테이지 3, 4 뭐 타이틀 우승할 수 있으면 좋겠지만 못하더라도 이제 시즌 우승을 좀 더 바라보고 달려갈 것 같아요.
New York fell short of their goal at the Stage 1 playoffs, but in Stage 2, they took home the crown, and they are officially the #1 team in the seed, but undeniably the best team in the world right now. Coming into Stage 3, what should the fans know about this squad?
I think the fact that Libero has stepped up from being somebody that we would have called a jack of all trades to winning the MVP in that stage finals for Stage 2 is phenomenal. And this team, it's just so well-rounded. There are no holes. There's nobody that ever lets
I mean, they're so versatile, right? They can play pretty much every hero. We saw, of course, Libero coming out with the Widowmaker. But before that, when they lost, they played their more Orisa, Roadhog, slow compositions. And still, they're so good at all of these different styles. And they're so hard to prepare for.
Not to mention, of course, one of the best support lines in the game. It's kind of rare that we focus in on the supports, but Jonak and Ark were so incredible in that final series. Keep your eyes on these two players today. Now, when you look at this matchup, it's #1 in New York XL going up against #11 in the Florida Mayhem. But you look at Florida Mayhem's track record, they only have 4 match wins on the entire overall regular season, but 3 of them came in their last 5 maps. They're looking better.
I mean, yeah, they are looking better, right? We see Logic starting to pop off, a more aggressive styles. Since Ryder came in as their new head coach and told the team to play a bit more aggressive, we've seen Tvick on the Genji, of course, starting to pop off. Swoosh has actually massively improved, in my opinion, playing a more aggressive game, and then Logic's, as I mentioned, starting to pop off. So Florida Mayhem, as a team, looking a lot better.
In Sideshow, it's the new stage, new meta, new maps are coming into play today. Do you think that will be in Florida's favor?
It absolutely will, because you've got a team like NYXL who are so well practiced on everything that we've seen so far. But with a brand new map of Blizzard World coming up, that is going to shake things up. This is the first time we're going to see it today of the second map that we're going into, along with the new meta. There's so much that can happen here.
Johnny, go ahead and walk us through this new map. I know you've been playing it on the comp ladder. You're in the top echelon of North American players. So what should we expect to see? It's the first time in competitive Overwatch League that we're looking at this map.
Yeah, but it's a bit more of a tighter map, right? I think King's Row, I'd like to say. Not Reinhardt, King's Row, sort of. But still, I mean, there's some close angles. We just see here around the corners, of course. There's some tight angles, some small high ground here you can situate your supports on top of. But in general, the theme is, as we go even closer onto point B, of course, another tight angle here. So a lot of close fights. I think we can expect some Roadhog, some Diva, like we've seen on some close maps, and less of the more divey or Widowmaker kind of style.
Any Reinhardt or Orisas for this map?
I'd love to see some Reinhardt, but I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, it's very rough. There's a lot of Winston these days, and moving on to even point C, as we see here in the inside area, it's just gonna get even better with more high ground.
Sideshow, it's your first time seeing this map between our pro Overwatch squads. What are you going to be looking for as an analyst?
I'm going to be looking at what kind of compositions that teams are lending themselves towards. Do they get value out of a Widowmaker? Are people playing mainly dive? Or are we going to see more of this scrappy kind of composition? And also the map has a lot of kind of valleys. The payload is being pushed in between a lot of high ground. So do teams make use of the high ground, or do they set up on the low ground? These are the kind of things I'm going to be keeping an eye out for.
Looking forward to seeing the new map here in professional play. And of course, I'm also looking forward to see what Florida is bringing to the table. They're the #11 seed. We talked about their recent trajectory. It's on the upwards, and they've added some new pieces. Let's take a look at the Florida roster. And Johnny, you got to talk to me about this player in the bottom left here alongside Zappis.
It is Saya player, of course, coming in from Korea. Sort of similar hero pool of Logix. Plays the Widowmaker, plays the Tracer, and the Soldier, of course. But because Logix has stepped up so much, are we really expecting Saya player to come out of the gates? He has been here for a while, but starting to integrate into practice, it's gonna take a while, I think.
Yes, and Logix is their star player, so it's gonna be difficult for Saya player to see time, I think.
Are we gonna see Saya player today? Remember, Awesome Guy just arrived yesterday for the Florida Mayhem. We'll see who is the starting 6. Blizzard Arena, are you guys ready to get this day started? Please make some noise and welcome our first team to the stage. It's the Florida Mayhem. Swoosh coming out first once again. Make some noise.
As we mentioned, Brian, they stepped up their gameplay. They've started to win some matches, but the walkout game, come on, guys. This is a still low level of walkout.
But that's what still low level.
Taking shots.
Yeah, I personally think that when we see them a little more zoned in like this, it's been when they've been more confident about their game, and you see that they're running the default roster today. Perhaps haven't had enough time for Saya player, an Awesome Guy who you said just arrived yesterday, to get integrated. But this roster was actually doing pretty well when we got to the
Absolutely. We have Tvick now, a very versatile player. Expect to see him on various different heroes now, of course, and then Logic's on the Widowmaker and the Tracer starting to pop up. It's a very solid roster because they are so versatile and everyone are so good in these different styles.
You heard the fans getting behind Swoosh right there. Some love for Zevasai as well, who took Johnny's money in poker recently. But real talk, you're facing the #1 team in the league, New York XL. Who is going to have the most pressure on their shoulders
today? It has to be Logic's, in my opinion, because you're playing Tracer and Widowmaker. You have to get those picks.
Yeah, and he's playing against Libero, who has had superstar level performances, but you wouldn't normally expect him to be able to consistently hit that level. If Logic's can't take him out, they don't have as much of a chance in this.
Please put Manitin on Roadhog for Blizzard World. That's all I want today, Florida. That is a look at your starting 6 for the Mayhem. It's time to introduce their opponents. Please welcome to the stage, the New York XL. First is the MVP from stage 2, so clutch in that championship match against Philadelphia Fusion. But let's look at this squad, 18-2 overall, but now they're in a new meta, new maps. Can they defend the throne?
It's even better, right? Because when I think of New York Excelsior, they're so versatile, they can play all of these heroes. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a team fully fledged when it came to Sombra play as well, as we saw yesterday, and even some dives, some Widowmaker. These guys can play it all.
And if they're going to play Sombra, it's that guy right there, Libero, who's got such a fantastically deep hero pool that's probably going to be bringing it out. And I love the fact that NYXL can just add strategies in. Their fundamental teamwork and individual skill is so good, they can just keep adding strategies on top, and it doesn't seem to hurt them. They have got the basics down.
I know there's some viewing parties not only in New York City, but also at PAX East. If you guys are watching live, big shout out to all of the fans there. The #1 team in the game taking the stage. And I can't wait to tune in for this one. Libero on Blizzard World. You want to see him Junkrat? Farah, what is this man playing today?
Who knows? It really could be anything. He can absolutely play it all. The NYXL are an incredibly versatile team, and it has helped them retain that #1 spot.
Blizzard Arena, are you guys ready to kick off this match? Put those Sour Patch Thunder Sticks together. Let's get this party started as we send it to our casters. It's Monty with Doa.
Hey guys, that's right. It is time to get day 2 of stage 3 started. Florida Mayhem taking on the New York Excelsior. Here we are. How you doing?
Here we are.
Here we are. That's right.
A great statement. I'm doing great today. We do get to see Blizzard World, which is very exciting with the new map coming into the pool.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I love, you know, things have been said about Blizzard World. Here we are on our map set screen. There we go. Next we'll be in Volskaya, right? Blizzard World coming up for a hybrid map in map 2. First time we will have seen it in the Overwatch League. I'm psyched about this one, mostly because I've been like a huge Blizzard fanboy since the 90s. But, you know, it's a fun map too, so there you go. It's got that going for it.
I'm excited because we're actually going to see a lot of new maps between these two teams today. Both times these teams have matched up in Stage 1 and Stage 2. It has been a New York Excelsior victory, but we've only seen them play Ilios. It's been the only common map in the pool that was all the way back in Stage 1. Pine was playing for the NYXL at the time in the roster for their control map, and so there's a lot that could be changed in this particular series.
Sure. You know, we look at what has become very popular lately with the new meta, a lot of that Tracer Sombra floating around, and I think New York Excelsior is a team well equipped to jump onto that, where Libero, you know, able to play the Sombra pretty well, and Sableby, you don't really need to mention this guy on Tracer. He's already one of the kings of that hero out there, so it's going to be difficult for Florida Mayhem, but like the desk mentioned, they were looking pretty good towards the end of Stage 2, and you'd have to think with those new additions coming in, with things stabilizing a bit on that team, they're only going to keep getting better.
Yeah, and I do think that they are going to improve. I think it's going to be hard for them to take this first map. This has be tough. This has been one of New York XL's best maps. We saw in the video from when they were playing against Philadelphia. This was map 3 of those finals, and it was really where they started to turn things around. So after halftime, they had a little chat, readjusted their strategies, and Libero, playing that Widowmaker, managed to hit some big shots, and that's where the reverse sweep began. They have been 5-1 on this map in Overwatch League, so New York going to be difficult to knock off here on Volskaya.
Now Florida Mayhem 2-1-2 themselves on Volskaya. Not the worst map score ever, but certainly not a 5-1. But they're going to give it their best, man. Florida Mayhem on the attack here on Volskaya Industries. Logic's coming out with that Widowmaker, looking for a shot down the corridor, but Jonak's not going to show himself. I wouldn't either.
And as we proceeded in stage 2 on Volskaya, it really did become all about Widowmaker on point A. But the question is, after the Sombra changes, if we are going to see more Sombra on point B, where traditionally that hero was quite strong.
True enough. Well, Florida tried to draw New York out on the point. They weren't able to do that. Now rotating around to the right side, just trying to create room to give Logic some space. And ooh, Jonak really taken out there. It wasn't a headshot, so Zenyatta stays alive for the moment, but it's all about project Logic right now. Get him those shots, get those picks, and then use the man advantage to take the point. And there it is. Libero caught unawares. Logic's backing off to the other side now, trying to stay evasive. Meanwhile, Tavik putting some pressure onto that room with the health pack. And NYXL, they need to come back and win a short-banded fight here if they want to save point A. But there goes Jonak. Manitin finds him. No supports now for NYXL. And Florida Mayhem with a great first attack here on Volskaya. Meko just trying to delay as long as he can, but it's going to be a pretty clean point A for Florida.
And that was just fantastic patience from the Mayhem.
Really was.
They were playing a low ground Widow, and what they were doing was they were forcing New York to move between the bunker you see on the right-hand side of your screen and the health pack over to the left.
Right.
And because we saw Logic's on the Widowmaker moving around the backside of that bunker, they didn't know where he was, and they had to constantly play with sightlines. Eventually, that's where he finds Libero, who is looking in the other direction where he used to be, and that's what creates the opening there.
Yeah, you know if you give enough time to Logix, he's going to find the shots on that Widowmaker, no doubt. Oh, and Arc gets found by Tavik. Swoosh with the killing blow there. Great start to hunt down the Mercy. Now Transcendences get popped. And the Pulse Bomb. Oh, that one got eaten, actually. Manitin, or rather Meko, gobbling that one up. A little bit of trouble for Jonak. Tavik finishes him off. It's a bit of a brawl here, but in the end, New York routed, but they've got the respawns. Florida will have to fall back.
I think what's most impressive about New York's defense is they lose Arc, who has the Valkyrie instantly, and yet all they use is really the Transcendence from Jonak. So they come back, stabilize, pop it instantly to cover the point and try and hold on for Arc's respawn. But thanks to them playing in the Trance and Florida not backing out, they're not able to get an advantage. So I think Florida, they should have been looking to try and force New York to burn a lot of ults in that instance and regroup after that, instead of trying to be a little more all-in. Logic's now going to be on the McCree.
So we'll be looking for some opportunities in the Florida backline too. Seeker on the side. Meko eating that Pulse Bomb too is pretty huge.
Yeah.
Mano actually pops a Primal Rage. They're just going to zone Florida out for a little while as everyone gets a bit reset on the point.
Yeah, smart of Florida though, they weren't engaged yet, so you can, if you see it popped out, go ahead, fall back, and now they're going to re-engage.
Zup in trouble. Sabielby just finishes him off. There's a stick onto Logic. Sabielby going nuts here.
Logic's tried to roll into him to kill Sabielby too, but it was just a hair off on the timing.
You got to give it a try, man. You see, like Winston's, they get stuck. They try to jump on where that trace is going to be, but Sabielby just a bit too slippery there. And the nice thing for Florida, they still have 4 minutes and 30 seconds in the time bank to make this work. And
yeah, and they didn't commit anything, and look at that.
Yeah.
They got everything out of New York. The Trance is going to be coming back up for Jonak again soon, and Libero reached the Dragon Blade, but otherwise that was a great push. Sure, you lose it, but you don't give that much ult charge to your opponent because of you're disengaging with most of your members, and at the same time, Florida's just working their way back up to 6 ults.
A lot of times these assault map points B are kind of an ultimate war of attrition, right? Mano down early. That's a big moment for Florida. Libero has to back away. They've got to worry about the Primal Rage coming in. And he's going to try to get back to spawn, gets zoned out though. Ooh, he lives. Meanwhile, Logic taking out Meko. They're going to get the Transcendence out of Jonak. Bolsongat is using it. Libero pulling out that Dragon Blade. Cuts through Logic's at the end of it. Can he get more? Trying to get Zupa. It looks like he will. And New York Excelsior winning this fight in the end, dashing through Zupa. Jonak finishes the damage that Libero started, and that's going to be another hold. And that one didn't go quite as well for Florida. They used a lot and weren't they were able to get about a tick out of it.
Yeah, Jonak, though, comes in to clean everything up, but really the story there was how well Libero and Sabielby were working together in the backline. Nobody expects Jonak to come in here on the flank, especially after he had already used his Transcendence, and oh, beautiful play against Tavik. And this is why we talk about Jonak being, you know, the most dangerous Zenyatta player in the Overwatch League. His damage output is really second to none on this hero.
Yeah, he's got that confidence to hit those shots, and when you have that confidence and that skill, you can do things like flank like he does, but sometimes you just get domed by the other Zenyatta. Zupa with an early kill there. Libero trying to fight off the 2 tanks. Able to do that quite a bit with that AoE damage coming out of the Junkrat. Mano down, so Florida diving in. ahead. Jonak did get res. There goes Zupa though. Oh, Zebasai taken out by the fadeaway concussion mine, and that's going to be Florida exiting this fight.
Sabilby is causing so many problems in the back line, and Libero was unchecked. He was firing grenades on top of where Sabilby was.
Yep.
Easy pickoff on both of the supports. And so New York finds themselves a player down yet again, and Florida cannot capitalize on it. Now the ults economy really swinging back in New York's favors. Jonak already with another Transcendence. To put this in perspective, Jonak is currently dealing 24% of his team's damage. Zupe is 11%. It's 1,600 damage for Zupe and over 4,000 now for Jonak. So it is just
what can
enormous
you say?
difference.
It's like this every time we see Jonak play, but he's on such another level from the other supports. Zupe down early. Sabilby finds a nice pick there. But yeah, I mean, when you got Jonak in the roster, you basically have a third DPS every single time. Zebasai down, Logic's down as well, both supports. Long dead for Florida Mayhem, and New York looking to secure another smooth hold here.
Yeah, and they're gonna do it. And if you just look at the stats right now, Jonak is basically tied with Tavik in terms of damage, and he's ahead of Logix and Manitin right now on the Florida Mayhem. So his damage output has been exceptional, as it usually is, and that's one of the reasons why New York is sitting atop this league right now, is because their support player is basically functioning like another DPS.
Yeah, totally. Hey, they've nearly got 6 ultimates as well to Florida's near 3 actually, so big advantage in that category. Only 1 minute for Florida to remain here. See if they can do it, man. They got to do something huge here, and losing Zupa early is not going to help you. Zebasai under threat as well. So he will be bottled up in the room for a second, but looks like he's going to be okay. There he goes. Mano takes him out in the end. So New York forces Florida back. They've got one more push here built up. Maybe another ultimate. I suppose you're going to have Zupa's Transcendence for the next one, but you know, you only got the Valkyrie and the Primal Rage out of New York there.
And you also have to deal with the Riptire, and the Riptire can put you down a player instantly as soon as the fight is about to start, and the longer they stall, the worse it's going to be unless they can snipe that Riptire.
Well, New York's defense has been basically airtight on this point. I mean, they lost A early, but they have just looked untouchable, only giving up about 50% during Florida's best attack. Now just 19 seconds remaining. Florida, it's do or die for them here on Volskaya Industries. They're going to lead in with the sound barrier, diving on the top to try to zone a bit of New York out. But here comes a tire. Ooh, you got to be careful. Groaning for victims gets taken out by Zebasai, though he got it with a right click. Tavik coming in with the kill on Sabilby. And Florida maybe have started something here. New York in a little bit of trouble. The kills coming in. Transcendence for Jonak trying to buoy the rest of the people there, but it's not working out. Libero cut down by Tavik, and Florida, despite all odds, gaining a lot of momentum in this one. Can they finish the point, though? Respawn's coming in. Can they get Sabilby? They are so close. 98.2%. Make it 100, and Florida will complete in overtime their attack run here on Volskaya.
And they did it, Doa, so they know the Riptire's coming up, and they pop that sound barrier early.
Yeah.
They also have the Transcendence, so they cover it. They overlap the ults just enough to make sure that they are going to be safe. But of course, the rest of the team not necessarily safe during that Riptire if they have or during the Transcendence against the Riptire.
Yeah.
However, they kill it. I mean, it was a focus fire there from Logix and from Zebasai to take it out, and that really changed the course of that fight. We can argue maybe New York should have popped that a little bit sooner as the Florida was advancing instead of trying to counter their push with it. You know, sometimes you just want to push it on a little bit further.
Yeah, that's right. So let's take a second and listen into Florida's comms as they were kind of getting ready to take point A.
Don't see Widow. One. Someone's sitting short. Someone's still short. Low Matrix, bubble. Yes, sir. Where is Widow? Low Matrix, cancel. No, fine. Don't know where Widow is. Tracer on free, we lost in. Tracer in one. I don't see the Tracer. Healing up. Don't see Widow. I don't see Widow either. Go pressure from my side instead, so we can't get shot by Widow. Okay. Are you guys ready? Hold up. I'm late. I'm low. See the Widow right now? Okay. I can't cross. We're doing Mega. Clear Matrix? Yeah. Go now.
Well, there you go. Setting up what was a very successful attack on point A, and it's all about giving Logix that room to find those picks.
Well, it's all about trying to surprise your enemy, because when you're playing Volskaya on the low ground as the Widowmaker, you have a few sight lines, but you can't tell when the enemy team is rotating between them. As where Logix is right now on your screen, and the other side of the bunker is where he was sort of floating between these angles trying to find that shot. And New York was trying to counter-rotate against that, but they made a mistake, and Logix hit the timing window when Libero was simply looking the wrong direction.
You don't see that much from Libero, actually. You don't get a lot of shots on his Widowmaker when he's looking away from you.
There's no way to know where the other Widow is, though, is the problem, so.
It's tough. Here we go, Florida Mayhem on the defense. New York Excelsior on the attack here. See if they can equalize what Florida did. Florida going for the Tracer Sombra for their defense. Vic over on that hero. You don't get the ult charge from the health pack healing anymore, but the health pack's coming back quicker from being hacked is still really huge for your team. And obviously EMP, when you get it, it's pretty good.
Yeah, Tavik is accustomed to playing the Sombra on this map, though. They have run Soldier Sombra on this point in the past on their defense, so they're going to be comfortable with it. Tavik is a good Sombra player and will play right into his wheelhouse this meta.
New York on the high ground. They're going down now. A little bit of vulnerability for Swoosh, but he gets healed up. Sabiel B, though.
It's a big kill.
Down on the side, yeah, and that's going to be New York having to wait a little bit. Looks like Florida might not give him the chance. Don't want to really attack in that room, though. That's a bit dangerous.
It is a bit dangerous, though, and it's also hard to control the high ground with the Tracer-Sombra combination, which is why they're coming around this side. They have the Widowmaker, so you have to see the Florida. They're just going to cycle their tanks up onto the high ground and heal them up.
Yep. That's right. Oh, Zebasai really low, man, just kind of floating around, and he got swatted like a giant healing mosquito, which is kind of the opposite of what mosquitoes do, but you get the idea. Mano down as well, though, on the New York side, so maybe with the Primal Rage coming up from Swoosh, they're able to do enough. Meko pops that self-destruct, wants his mech back right away. Meanwhile, Sabiel B took down Tavik on the side of the fight. Libero looking for shots, but he gets dove. Goodbye. Maniton puts him to bed, and now with the Transcendence coming perhaps a bit late for New York, gonna have a struggle here. Supa pops his later.
Oh, Shonak, though. Damage boosted kill onto Logix, and the proximity of these spawns gonna make a big difference right now. Tanks are finally falling for Florida. It was a good initial defense, but once the New York got on the high ground with both of their tanks, once Meko respawn, or Mono rather, respawned, they couldn't crack the top defense any longer. It is very hard with two short-range DPS heroes. However, it does set them up for a strong defense here. Tavik almost at that EMP. New York had to invest a lot in order to take that, but they are coming back up on some ultimates here, so we'll see what they can do. Now, Infrasight and Primal Rage not going to be possibly the point breakers that they want. They're probably going to sit here and try and look for a pick and slow push their way to some support ults, try and take a little bit of damage.
Sure thing. There's the EMP. How many did he get with that one?
Only Meko.
Okay, yeah, didn't look like a lot.
So they have to use
on the sides. Who've been a little bit of trouble. Meko demech meanwhile.
Yeah, but they had to use the pulse bomb to do it again, and that's a good stick.
That's right. Primal Rage comes out. Now for Mono. Tavik down. New York still finding quite a bit of momentum here on this point. And yeah, Sabiel B setting up New York again. Now it's just about handling the respawn. Swoosh not lasting too long. There goes Zebasai. And it looks like they may take this one with quite a bit of time remaining. How much can Florida delay? Not much. 5 minutes and 4 seconds on the clock for New York.
I mean, we're praising Florida Mayhem for their patience on their initial attack, but that time, Sabiel B came into the point, and they thought they had an EMP, but they pulled that trigger way too early. They only got Meko, and in order to demech him after he was hacked, they also used the pulse bomb. So at that point, they had used essentially everything that they had left over, and New York just baited all those ults out, didn't really suffer for it, and just rolled them on the point after that with significantly better ult economy. That was sloppy by Florida. They need to wait for New York to actually engage them on the point rather than trying to make the Hail Mary play with the EMP.
Right. Now you've got the situation for New York where all they need to do is use that 5 minutes and 4 seconds and just take the first tick on point A on this attack here, and they'll have won Volsky Industries. Remember, Florida finished, but they finished in overtime. No extra time in the time bank for them. They're going to swap things up on the defense a bit. Swoosh on that Orisa, Maniton on the Roadhog. So a little bit more pick potential there.
Yeah, definitely a pick composition that they're looking at, and they're trying to build up sort of a hard point defense. Looks like they'll be playing on the low ground for now, and this defense, for the most part, unless they can actually hit a support or the Widowmaker, is going to be hard for Libero to deal with, but they can also just change and try and play more tanks into them.
Sure.
We'll see what they're going to try and do, if they're going to switch after they see the composition.
Well, either way, New York's got a lot of time to make it work here. Just needing that first tick on point A to win the map. Hook comes in early on. We're able to get the kill from that. Mano jumping in with the shield, trying to support him. Jonak down. Logix with an early pick there.
All right, they're going to res him, but at this point, I think you really want to go back, as they're going to start losing people to this pick composition.
Yeah.
Now, you can switch over to a dive comp and try and play the high ground and dive onto the support line. You can switch to a few more tanks to see if that's going to do it for you. There's going to be dive comp. Okay, so they are going to make the shift. This is not really viable, because if you try and walk up into that, you're never going to get the Orisa barrier down, really. So as long as they play intelligently around the buildings and the barrier, there's not going to be an opportunity to get the Widow snipe.
Now, Mano's kind of lucky he got out of there, actually. He was down to about 20% of his health left at the end. Got back to his team. Losing him would have slowed him down a bit. As it is, about a minute eaten off the time bank by Florida's first defense, but now Libero coming in on that Genji. A little bit of pressure from the side, but getting a big dash through a grouped up Florida would be pretty big for these guys. Meanwhile, Sabi will be harassing that backlines along with Mano. A lot of trouble for Logix. He drops down, stays alive for the moment, but he's so low. Meanwhile, the rest of Florida getting annihilated by New York on that low ground, and I think that's going to be about it, guys, for Volskaya.
And that is going to be it, Doa. That all started with Jonak 1v1ing Tavic's Tracer on the side. Tavic went for the
what
kill.
else is new?
Jonak was the one who emerged with his life. Now 6 versus 5, New York rolls over to the point.
That's right. So a bit of life from Florida on their attack, especially on point A. Playing well around Logix, but it is New York with a pretty definitive win on map number 1. We are just getting started, though, guys. Map number 2 coming up after the break, and it's going to be Blizzard World's debut in the Overwatch League. Our newest hybrid map. You don't want to miss it. We will be back right after this. See you then.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
NYXL is currently up 1-0, but that might change with the next map. We're gonna see Blizzard World for the first time. I personally am very, very excited about this. How do you guys feel about it? That's right. Now, I talked to both teams prior to them taking to the stage about their thoughts on the map. On one side, we had the Mayhem being super excited about playing on it. Twick and Swoosh especially were like, oh no, we're eager. This is a fun map to play and we're looking forward to it. Then I talked to NYXL and that was quite the opposite. Ark told me that they had little to no practice on it and they're actually really, really uncomfortable on Blizzard World. And he did talk to me about this potentially being the map that they're gonna drop against the Florida Mayhem. It's this one or Ilias he expects to lose. He still thinks that NYXL is gonna win 3-1. Let's see if that is gonna happen or not. So for all the action on Blizzard World, let's hand it over to Monty and Dua.
Thank you, Zoe. That's right, guys. We are just about to get started with Blizzard World, our new hybrid map. I'm psyched about this. It's a very interesting map in terms of lots of narrow corridors, lots of flanking paths, some narrow chokes, a really tough to get past point B ending. It's like, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Just to be extra clear, if you just tuned in,
transparency is big right now.
It's really popular with the Los Angeles Valiant.
I didn't. That was a bit too on the nose, Monty. Come on.
Hey,
but you're right.
It's their marketing strategy. They've said it, so you know. I'm just representing them well. Anyway, back to the point. The point B is before it was moved. So this isn't the latest version of Blizzard World that we're on right now, just to be clear.
Yep. Well, there we go. Blizzard World. Starting out with the beautiful gates of Stormwind, which I'm familiar with because I played World of Warcraft basically forever.
I'm so proud of you right now.
I've got characters in that game that are like 11 years old at this point now. It's cool.
Yeah, I think probably some of your WoW characters are old enough that some of our younger Overwatch League players didn't even know what Blizzard was when they were made.
That is true. That's true. Well, of course.
That doesn't make you feel old, does it?
No, I don't feel old at all. Really, anytime. No. Certainly not when I'm rock climbing. No. All right. As you can see, Stage 1, or Part 1, World of Warcraft. Part 2, StarCraft. Part 3, Diablo. We'll see if we get this far. And then we'll stay a while and listen.
Oh, God. Now I'm going to have to listen to your Deckard Cain impersonation.
You don't want to listen to my Deckard Cain impression. I died in an in-engine cutscene.
He did.
I didn't even get... Oh, spoiler alert. Sorry, everyone.
It was a very ignoble death for a loved character, wasn't it?
Poor Deckard Cain.
It's okay. He's been resurrected in Heroes of the Storm now.
He just wanted people to listen. Oh, well.
He's back in HOTS now, though.
That's
so
right.
it's okay.
Oh, shark fight.
It's not really much of a fight, is it?
Well, you're right. It's kind of a shark punching bag, but hey, if I was going to make my own amusement park, I would make a shark punching bag for myself. Not out of a real shark, though, guys. Out of a fake one. Anyway, here we go.
Out of a real shark.
I know you would. But full transparency, guys. Monty would use a real shark. Here we go.
Stuff it full of smaller sharks.
Oh, man. The baby sharks and the big shark. Florida Mayhem on the attack. Nice segue there. They're going to come around the side path here. That avoids that big gate. That's a really annoying choke to get through. New York Excelsior playing this one pretty far back on the high ground over the hut. Libero with an early kill on Dzupe as they come in. And yeah, goodbye Zebasai. So they will fall back. So where they're falling back through is kind of that narrow choke that a lot of teams avoid right now. But you know, if you're going to run away, it's the quickest way out. So
yeah, you don't really have a choice when they're pursuing you in a 6 versus 4.
Yeah.
And to go back to what Zoe was saying, remember the New York Excel were actually in New York City for having fan meets for a lot of their time during the break, so they definitely haven't had as much practice as some of the other teams here on Blizzard World.
Fargo Deep Mine. Spent a lot of time in there at level 5. Remember that one? I did, yeah.
I know nothing about World of Warcraft.
Swarmed with infinite kobolds. A lot of people out there know what I'm talking about. Here we go. Coming in now, diving into the high ground. They're going to force Mano out. This point can be tricky to take because it's kind of around this corner. As you can see, the point right now. Swoosh a little bit low. Ooh, gets back to his healers just in time. Florida Mayhem trying to take the point, but there's that high ground behind it you need to worry about. Mecco a little bit low. New York not really contesting this one too much. They get the D-Mech onto Mecco, actually. NYXL, they lose Savior B as well. You got to do something. Manatee sneaking around for that health pack.
Zebazai crucially
Ooh,
taking
boy.
out the Riptire again, Doa.
Yeah, wow.
They do lose both of their heroes, though, or their healers, so now there may be a chance for the NYXL to contest this. We'll see if they can get there. But no, they're going to fall back.
Yeah, all right.
They'll fall back before SayBLB can get back over to the point. Both supports were left alive.
That was pretty fast. And honestly, New York, I feel like they couldn't quite decide on where they wanted their defense to be on point A. But like we were saying, they were saying they haven't had a lot of practice experience on it. And I think we kind of did see a bit of that there.
Yeah, and also with this composition, when you get close with the Florida Mayhem and the Tracer and with the Sombra, you can't really duke it out at low range on the point if you're the Excelsior. The whole point of having the Junkrat is to control angles and prevent them from getting onto the point in the first place.
Now point 2. Onto the high ground goes Florida Mayhem. Push back off again. Logic's dueling it out a little bit. Gotten to the back lines to be annoying. Oh, but Libero gets the kill on Zebasai. So Florida's going to have to pull back a little bit. At this point, ooh, Libero. Oh, they found where Tavik's translocator was. Mecca was waiting. Oh, boy.
Yeah, Mono and Mecca were standing on top of that translocator as we saw Tavik try and put a little bit of damage.
True enough.
Into the back line, and now Florida coming back with 5 ults, but it's going to be an ult apocalypse here. New York with 6.
That's the plan. A lot of options to defend here. Libero coming around the side with that Riptire. Going the back lines, he's just going to take out Swoosh. That is a worthy target, I would say. Tavik can't make it out as well. So New York holding strong, and point B is where we do see actually a lot of pushes get stopped on a Blizzard World. That high ground is difficult to assault.
Yeah, it is, and especially with the point where it is right now on Blizzard World, as we're seeing in Overwatch League, can be difficult for the attacking team to overcome. But
very true.
Libero that time, as you saw, he was just going after Swooshy. After a couple of Zebasai killing his Riptires, he decides he's just going to go after the tank this time instead.
Wow, some damage onto Libero. I mean, the Pulse Bomb did its work. Got him the kill in the end, or got enough damage to get him the kill anyway. They forced the Transcendence out of Jonak too. The pressure from Logix is big. Now the sound barrier comes in for the Florida Mayhem. They're going to push forward here. Primal Rage for Mano as Meko just kind of sits on the payload for the moment. They're going to find Zupa, so that payload not really moving too far forward. Florida putting a lot into this, and they got a lot out of New York Excelsior.
And they did. They
like
saw
get
5 people
moving.
and an EMP left over on the payload right now, so Tavik can do further damage.
Yep. The MP's got to win this duel.
Oh,
though.
the
health pack.
He still
doesn't
got it.
matter. Wow, SayBLB, I don't know if he was expecting that health pack to be there or to come up right when it did, actually. He kind of turned away at the end. Self-destruct. Gonna get the DMAC onto Meko, just trying to buy time for the respawns to come in, because we're getting near the end of point B, and this is where it gets tough if you're the attacking team. Wow, Meko, just the invulnerable pilot diva, apparently. He lasted such a long time, and he actually lived.
Oh, Logic
Till then.
took Meko out, but also managed to destroy himself there with his own Pulse Bomb. Quick revive onto the Diva means a new suit will be available for Meko, and now the Mayhem must fall back.
The problem with Florida is that there's only one pylon there. You need to build additional pylons.
You have to have more supply, but they're only using 6 out of their 8 supply right now.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you don't even need supply if you just build cannons, though, so that's my strategy. You know, pylon kind of close to your opponent's base, a couple cannons in there. Or 6, you never know.
You don't prefer the proxy gateways?
No, I was always a cannon rusher. I played Proud Us anyway. Here we go. Big. They get Mano. Okay, good start for Florida.
Mano was the only one who was hacked, though, Doa.
I guess so, but still, I mean, it's a nice kill to take out. And they get the Riptire, too, but they need more out of this momentum here. Valkyrie popped by Ark in the meanwhile. They're going to get the Transcendence out of Jonak, too. Both support ultimates down for NYXL. Zebasai just got a sound barrier right now, and he's going to use it. Florida trying to push forward with that. They need to kind of keep this momentum going, and pushing New York Cell back into that side room is actually great, because the respawns come back really fast here. Mano gets Tavik, though. So Florida Mayhem fighting for every inch. That's point B. Ooh, got him. Oh, no, Meko. Logix, he was a bit too close to the self-destruct. Wanted to get Meko before the remake happened. Either way, that payload nearly there.
However, Mono does have the Primal Rage, and he's going to be coming in.
Yep.
So a few members left. Zebasai will lose his life to a Raging Ape.
Yeah, that's right. Mono. Meanwhile, on the high ground, Tavik gets stopped. Here comes another Riptire. Goodbye, Maniton. And now just about 5 seconds remaining. And it looks like NYXL will be holding this one right here. Can Florida even get there? Nope, they can't. And so NYXL holds it at the end of point B, and I think we're going to see, no matter what the teams are, I think we're going to see a lot of that on Blizzard World.
I agree, Joe. I think this is going to be a similar story for our teams here in the Overwatch League in Stage 3. So it is a respectable finish. They did get towards the end, about 3/4 of the way to point B.
Sure. Yeah, that's a tough one to stop. It almost becomes like kind of one of the point Bs on an assault map towards the end there, where you're really fighting for every inch and the respawns are coming really close.
I do hope we get to see some point C sometimes, though, because point C I
point.
really enjoy on this map.
Oh, yeah.
It has a very unique architecture.
The big sort of like pit in the middle of it, and you kind of go around
wraps
the corner.
around the side. It's a fun short and mid-range point for a lot of hit scan heroes. So I think we'll probably be seeing Roadhog, McCree, these kind of heroes. Sombra, Tracer, obviously, given the current patch. So hopefully we'll get a lot of action there at some point. It will, regardless, not be in this match because it will end either way on point B.
True enough. See, in StarCraft 2, I was more of a Terran player, so I would just actually jump in that siege tank, and then people would have a really hard time getting through the choke, I think.
It
You're
does
all
seem like
Zerglings to me.
Does seem like the most effective strategy. But, Junkrat's sort of the same. Long range, splash damage,
He is kind of a siege
space.
tank, isn't he? Yeah. I'll give you that. It's true.
Only he can fly, basically.
Yeah.
It's pretty overpowered.
Flying siege tank. Hey, well, I mean, in StarCraft 2, man, you fly him around in medevacs. There you go. You can drop him off. Drop him on the high ground. Make Zerg cry.
As a Zerg player, I did cry.
Zerg was my other race in StarCraft 2, so I feel your pain. Here we go. Florida Mayhem on the defense. New York Excelsior. All they need to do is get it near the end of point B, and they'll go up 2-0 in this series. Coming right down the middle. Looks like they're not going to take that left side path underneath.
So they are going to be running Libero on the McCree, and this was a strategy against Sombra even before her changes came through in Stage 2, particularly by teams on the attack who abuse the fact that you're not going to know the McCree is there necessarily right at the start. So if the Sombra peeks too aggressively, trying to get charged for her ultimate, you can punish.
I think it's just a good pick for this map, too, because you've got so many of these narrow flanking corridors, and Flashbang makes a big difference there.
We're going to see Florida just jump in, though.
Well, they're gonna test it.
Mono's flanking on the far side right now.
Interesting. Well, Jonak just takes out Zebasai, and that's the thing. Whenever New York gets a little bit stalled out, it's like Jonak's like, all right, well, I guess I'll just kill somebody. And he will. Libero fighting off. Swoosh now. A little bit low. They're going to duck back. Hit the Fargo Deep Mine Ride for a second here. Ooh, Flashbang narrowly dodged by Tavik, and Florida Mayhem will actually kind of win the war of attrition here.
Yeah, they will. They dive aggressively, and Libero never gets to output a lot of damage as we're taking a look, trying to be, he was foiled really by a lot of those Winston shields and trying to find the elusive Tracer and Sombra on the other side. So that actually turns into a nice win there for the Florida Mayhem.
Yep. Trying to come in from the side now. Looks like they're going to go ahead and try to use a Valkyrie from Arc to push their way through. Mercial came in very early. Florida Mayhem not really engaging it. Now they're going to go in. They've got the Transcendence. Big EMP comes on top from Tavik. Libero, though, fights off Zebasai with that Deadeye. Flashbang blocked by the shield. Libero gets back to his healers, though, and now they're going to slowly push their way onto the point, and Florida may be in a bit of trouble here.
That was an excellent EMP by Tavik. He hit SaBLB, he hit the supports, but unfortunately, with the Deadeye having already been used, they were zoned out from the follow-up. They're still going to push through, though.
I mean, Florida's grinding this one back again. Yep. Yeah, there's a D-Mech on the Meko now. And that's going to be Florida continuing to hold. They certainly do look more practiced on this map. I think New York on both the attack and the defense have kind of looked like they were having trouble deciding where to go and where to put people.
Yeah, and there's not, unlike Volskaya, when they tried to play against this Sombra and Tracer combo, there's not a great high ground for them to go here. They tried it before, but it was quickly clogged up by the tanks of the Mayhem.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to bull rush the point right now. They have a Transcendence to do it.
That's a nice hack on the Meko, too. That is very scary for the D.Va player, and suddenly you can't use that defensive matrix to save people.
Yeah, Tavik has been hacking either Mono or Meko at the start of these fights, which is really delaying their approach.
It's a lot of high ground, too, for Sombra to kind of get those sneaky hacks on the tanks with. Oh, protecting against SaBLB is logic. Here we go. Deadeye coming in. Now the Transcendents are going to throw Meko's self-destruct over the top there. Doesn't accomplish a whole lot. New York trying to push in there. Oh, doesn't get a stick, but he does get the kill on Libero. Anatin did go down here, and they lost to Vic as well, though. So New York still one person ahead at this point.
Yeah, they have to remove people from the respawn so they can get the resurrection of Libero, and they do manage to do it as Mono doubles back.
Yeah, it looks like with less than a minute remaining, New York in a position to take point A if they can keep this up.
And they are going to get it eventually, it would seem. Sabilby and Mono just trying to delay them for as long as possible, ensure that they are untouched on that point, but they are not going to have a lot of time to make it far on point B, and we saw how long it took the Mayhem to get deep into this point.
Yeah. Yeah, point B, you know, in some ways I kind of think it's a little bit similar to point B on Gibraltar, where you've got this high ground that you really want to claim before the enemies. And if you get that, it can be kind of tough to dislodge you. The attackers do get an easier path onto the high ground on this map, but it is kind of comparative in that you really want to try to control that space. Tvik coming in, controlling the space with an EMP as well, but Manatin, the one who goes down, as does Zupa. Zebasai with 7 HP, backing up, but Sable will be right there with a pistol to whip him down with. And New York Excelsior kind of dominating that fight, and that payload's going to get a lot of distance.
Well, Tvik got Mecco with the EMP and both of the New York supports, but the supports were so far back that when the cavalry came through for the Mayhem, they were collapsed on by the tank line and the DPS from the XL. So they were punished and baited in a bit. They fully expected Tvik to use that EMP.
Sure enough. Meanwhile, New York setting up on the high ground now, taking people through the Nexus experience to get up there. Oh, but they lose Libero. Maybe he'll be sneaking up on the top here. Zupa very low. Mano finds the kill there. Zebasai on the run. He's got Manatin to kind of keep him safe with the Diva, perhaps. Not safe enough. Mano with the kill there. Sabe will be now on the Tracer. Logic's backing off. It's a duel, man. All these crazy angles. It's hard to keep track of where people are coming from. And Sableby can't do it. Logic's winning that duel.
And this will be Mecco just sacrificing his life. They'll try and stagger him, but there is a cliff for him to leap off of and reset. Not going to use the self-destruct there, of course.
Yep.
The last person on his team. But Florida Mayhem looking strong here in this defense. Only a minute remaining, and they have many, many tools to work with.
Sure enough, Logic's heading up by the Ghost Academy. Ooh, that pulse bomb did not do its job. Logix wants that one back again. Self-destruct used by Manatin again, just delaying New York Excelsior. Less than 1 minute remaining. Florida Mayhem can win this one. If they win, maybe another fight, but Sableby takes out Zupa early. Riptide rather coming in. Libero, oh, he
finally gets Zebasai.
And Zebasai now 2-1 against Riptide, I think it is in this match overall. Lost it at a crucial time, though. That payload is nearly there. NYXL on the verge of winning this one. Florida needs to get back. Now they're going to take the Transcendence in. Barely get there in time. Transcendence a bit later from Jonak. Going to keep New York up, but Florida has a sound barrier. Now New York throws out the self-destruct. No kills out of that one. They do lose Sableby, but Manatin, DMAC, New York all over this payload right now. Logic's no HP. Here comes Swoosh, but he's on his own. And that could be it for New York. They will win the map. As Tvik comes out with a bit of fireworks at the end, but it will be Excelsior going up 2-0 in this series.
Very close at the end there. Good defense from the Florida Mayhem.
Yeah.
Tvik in particular on that Sombra delayed the Excelsior so much throughout that map with some critical hacks onto the tank line, just draining the clock, but it just isn't quite enough. Excelsior get barely over that finish line.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun map. I mean, there's so many opportunities for like crazy individual plays on it, and it's going to be tough to take point B, but hey, it'll be fun to watch. We'll see you after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network.
So far, the New York Excelsior are showing exactly why they're the best team in the Overwatch League right now as they go into the halftime up 2-0 over the Florida Mayhem. Welcome back, everybody. It's Puckett here at the desk. I got the boys once again. They're roommates. They're best friends. It's Sideshow. It's reinforced.
Housemates.
Housemates.
Yes. Please separate me from Josh.
They have separate bedrooms, guys.
I thought you were about to complain about being best friends. You were about to break my heart.
That too.
Well, we enjoyed the games together so far, and let's start back with game number 1. Volskaya Industries ended up with a 3-2 score in favor of the New York XL. Once again, we see some Widow play coming in, a lot of Sombra here today.
I gotta be honest, Logic's had a decent performance on Widow. They completely opened up that point A really quickly, but then this point B, Florida Mayhem not quite able to get through for a long time. A hold for 5 minutes.
It was just a repeated assault onto the backline of Florida Mayhem, and it was... I mean, I got a bit frustrated just seeing Florida Mayhem walk in. We saw some good dives, but Supe and Sebosai got shut down by Salbiolbi repeatedly. And so it was a bit frustrating to watch, but eventually they capped point B and gave New York a run for their money, maybe.
Now, New York had a little bit more success on the attack. So how do the two teams compare? Why is New York succeeding on the offense where Florida was really kind of struggling with that second point?
In my opinion, it's about how you set up when you move into the points. You can't be too obvious with where you're going. If you just walk straight down the middle and push forward with the front 4 players and leave your supports behind, you're just opening an invitation for Mano and Sabiolbi to destroy both Supe and Sebasai. So I think the way that you have to approach, you have to have somebody on the flank, you have to set up a bit of distraction first, you're taking control of area, and then you start your initiation. Just this fundamental building blocks of being able to get into the point is what NYXL are so good at. And
also because New York is a bit more defensive team, I would like to say they play around Jonak more than perhaps Florida plays around Supe, of course. So it's a lot easier for New York to maybe peel off those dives. So just the play style differences play into New York's favor, in my opinion, because they can sort of play slow and just punish the mistakes from Florida Mayhem.
Now, Johnny, I love it when you tell us straight, break down the game for us, slow things down. What did you see in game number 1 that the audience needs to know?
Well, I got some insights powered by Intel, and we got some Orisa and Roadhog action coming through.
The big ones!
Yes, absolutely. So we, of course, have Manhattan and Swoosh pairing up here on the second attack for New York Excelsior, and they're going to get a pretty good hook here onto Mono. But I think that New York Excelsior overall, they're pretty happy with that. Pull coming in, hook coming in. But Meko, he manages, we're looking around this area here, Meko manages to peel for Mano actually, and make sure that Mono doesn't die from that hook. And so, in reality, New York, they're pretty happy that Florida Mayhem just managed to get a hook onto Mano, because now when they've used their combo, we're going to see that Swoosh and Manhattan, they have to back off and surrender space, because the threat of the pull and hook combo, it's over. And it's also going to force Sebosai to come down to the tanks, and as such, a even bigger rotation from Logix is going to happen, because there's so much stuff happening. Swoosh and Manhattan, of course, they have to now back off following that failed hook combo. Sebosai comes down to heal them, and Sabiolbi, he can pounce onto Logix down here. So a lot of stuff happening at once, but it all stems from this failed hook and pull combo coming out of Manhattan and Swoosh. So in a summary, I would say that New York, I think they played around this well, because they purposefully managed to get a hook onto Mono so someone would survive the hook-pull combo, and as such, they pretty much won the fight.
They bait their tank, is basically what happened right there.
Yeah, they basically forced Mono to take the hook-pull combo so they could move forward.
Now, you used the term peel there. Sideshow, you've been writing some awesome articles on OverwatchLeague.com. Real quick, let's catch up some of the guys in silver and gold. What does peel exactly mean when you're playing that diva?
So peel means that you're removing a threat from another teammate. So that might be by killing the guy that's trying to kill your teammate, but in this instance, it was through the defense matrix. So Meko on Diva was using his defense matrix to eat the shot that would have killed Mano, and that's why we call it peeling. We're peeling some damage away, we're peeling a threat away, we're trying to remove something that would have killed one of your teammates.
That's right, guys. If you're playing Diva, don't be like me. You can help your teammates not just pick up eliminations. All right, let's talk about game number 2, Blizzard World. We didn't even get a chance to see point C on this one. New York stops Florida short, but it was Florida that started off really well. Let's jump into some of the highlights here from Blizzard World, because I was impressed once again. It's to Vic on the Sombra, and the tank seemed really on point with their
I mean, we
initial
talked about, going into this game, we talked about the Sombra a bit, and I think that New York, they weren't as comfortable as they said in the interview going into it. They weren't as comfortable on Blizzard World, so maybe they had to adapt to fix Sombra for a bit. And likewise for Florida Mayhem, I don't think they were prepared for Liberals Junkrat at all. So on point B, they got completely shut down, and it's just two different styles going head-to-head on a new map with different playstyles.
Sideshow, it's our first time watching the Overwatch League teams play on this map. What did you learn while watching?
I think point A is pretty interesting. We saw the NYXL setup on the high ground, which you could just see previously, and Florida Mayhem very slowly walked up towards them and kind of surrounded it. It was like NYXL were on a little island, and they just walked all around them and then took their time to set up, and then they pounced onto them. And then when we saw the Florida Mayhem, they had a bit more of a balanced defensive setup, and NYXL were forced to walk around and take the high ground, walk around and take the low ground a couple of times. So I think by looking at where teams are setting up on the defense, that's going to set the pace of how teams, when they're attacking, try and approach it. As well, you've got to point out that point B seems to be pretty difficult to take.
Absolutely.
You've got to have momentum. If
Defenders
you
got some advantage there with the spawns. Well, that is going to do it for our halftime coverage. New York is up 2-0. They need just one more map to lock up another match win. But as we wrap up halftime, I want to remind everybody about our All Access Pass. It's live right now on Twitch. It gives you bonus screens. So you can see all the different action that's happening around the maps, as well as behind-the-scenes content, alternate camera angles, and live stats. But the best part, it's free until May 16th. So use this commercial break, download it right now, get your access, and make sure you enjoy the second half the best way possible with the All Access Pass. We'll see you in a few.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Sour Patch Kids. Sour, sweet, gone.
Welcome back, everybody. We are 1/2 down, and the NYXL have a 2-0 lead over the Florida Mayhem. And you know, if there's anything to be stated about the NYXL, it's got to be that they are the most resilient team in Overwatch. Just look at their team fights. You take out 1 or 2 of their guys, and they find a way to turn it around and wipe the other team. It's amazing. Also, I've been looking for ways to approach Blizzard World, and after that match, I still have no clue what to do, so hopefully I can figure that out by the end of the day. But anyways, can Florida Mayhem pull off the reverse sweep? Let's find out right now and send it back to our casters, Monty and Doa.
Thanks, Malik. I think we're all trying to figure out Blizzard World right now.
I think the pro players are trying to figure out Blizzard World right now.
You know, but that's going to be fun. We get to see them figure out Blizzard World.
Yes, the evolution of Blizzard World will occur as Stage 3 unfolds. Should be interesting stuff. And
hey,
guess what?
Hey, that's a new face on the Florida Mayhem bench. That's right, Saya player coming in for Logix, formerly of Meta Athena, which is one of my favorite teams to watch in Korea. We casted them last year, or a couple of years ago, actually, at Apex. Wow, time flies. Meanwhile, Janice coming in for Mano. And it's gonna be Pine.
Big Boss
in on Ilios. The Big Boss returns. That's right, on the map. That made him famous. We already knew he was good, but man, the McCree performances this guy put on this map are like the stuff of legends.
Yes, and Pine was in the last time these two teams played on Ilios. It is the only map in this series that these two teams have played against each other on before. It was a 2-0. For the Excelsior. Obviously, Saya player was not a part of that lineup, and unfortunately, Doa, we do not get to see the old teammate face-off of Saya player versus Libero. They used to both be DPS players on Meta Athena. We will have to wait for the grudge match some other time.
Yep, it'll happen eventually. Don't worry. Don't worry, Monty.
So for those of you who do not know Saya player is known for his McCree and Widowmaker and Tracer play. So similar to Logix. So I'm curious as to why they're deciding to run Saya player right now. You don't need to communicate as much on these control maps because it does tend to be a bit more brawly. So perhaps they just want to start integrating him with the team. With Tavik in the lineup, probably means we're going to see some Sombra and possibly Pharah play as their primary strategies. Tavik can also play the Widowmaker if they do go to Ruins and they want to put Saya player on the Tracer.
That's right. Might see some tricky stuff as well. Meta Athena, you know, what they were known for more than anything, the team that Saya player is from, is just from having these really wild strategies on a bunch of different maps. They would do things like run a Mei on attack, but use it to boost them up to be able to attack from a higher position than you really should be able to with most compositions.
Or make weird flanks a lot of the time, so the whole team would be coming from angles that were impossible without that Mei wall.
They were a very, very cerebral team, so I'm glad to see some of the players, or more of the players rather, entering into the Overwatch League. But here we go, New York Excelsior up 2-0 in this series. Florida Mayhem gonna try to get some momentum back here on Ilios. Pine, though, coming in on the McCree, and that's terrifying no matter who you are in the Overwatch League.
And interesting that we see this short-range composition. They're even running a Moira with the Sombra and the Tracer, so they need to run directly at the composition of the NYXL. This comp from the Mayhem is designed to brawl on top of the point.
Yeah, Moira's got to get up close and personal with this one. Pine walking forward here. No kills just after that. Oh, misses that second flashbang. Solution tick, or Tick rather, down on the Florida side, so New York will claim the point first.
And that was they looked pretty comfortable with that. They didn't really push onto the point at all. They were trying to fall back and wait for the Mayhem to engage them. And that's where the pick came through. So Florida Mayhem now gonna start their second attack here as NYXL tries to play from range.
Sure enough, Jonak back in the room there. Not a lot of pressure in from Florida just yet. Vic, we'll see if he gives chase here. Meanwhile, Savior will be down. Zebasai actually found a kill somewhere else on the map right now. New York backing away. Florida trying to flip it right now. And there's a Coalescence out for Moira at the moment. Zupa popping that one. Janice down to the charge from Manitin. Florida pushing in. They've started to flip the control meter here. And with Jonak and Janice both going down, maybe they've got a chance. Nice stick onto Pine. Saya player making his presence felt here on the well, and Florida will get their control percent started.
Yeah, and they couldn't actually stagger that, the NYXL, onto the point, so they're going to give it up a little bit earlier than they would like, especially because they did commit the Valkyrie to their defense. So Florida now starting to build up their own control percent. They did have to use quite a bit, but Tavik will have the EMP for the NYXL offensive.
Yeah. Now you gotta hold the point. Vic's got the EMP, certainly will help with that.
See if Jonak can cancel it out with a trance. They know he's up. Jonak is way in the back right now.
Yep.
So they are keenly aware this EMP is available.
Yeah, you don't want to be turned into a 50 HP Omnic here. Vic diving in, he's gonna get an EMP, got maybe 3 there. Swoosh down though. Echo finds a kill there. Pine hacked, but he's still got that 6-shooter, and he does a ton of damage to Zupe. Sabely finishing off. Oh, Saya player, that defensive matrix saved his life. Manitin was right there around the side of the building. Vic though going down in Florida, despite a few heroics, not able to really hold on to the point.
And New York plays so intelligently with their positioning around this EMP. There was no real way for them to get Jonak. Jonak stayed out of sight, and then he just counters with the Transcendence once the EMP hits a couple members of his team, and Florida Mayhem attempts to all in.
Yep. Watch your back. That's the story. NYXL up to 60% now. Florida Mayhem got 52 before it got taken away from Jonak with an early kill on Desaya player, so that's not going to help Florida push the point any quicker here.
Certainly will not. That'll be another delay now. 70% for NYXL. We are now basically in one fight territory in this game.
Pretty much. Florida making a show of it at least a little bit, but New York looking dominant at the moment. Another, whoa boy. Pine finds Evasai on the side of that, but Tavik was right there. A stick on the Manitin. There's the DMEC for Sable B. Florida in trouble already, 90% for NYXL. Supa trying to keep his tanks alive, but can't do that as Swoosh does go down. Sable B gets hacked. I don't think there's going to be much follow-up, though, from that one. A lot of members of Florida out of the fight already. 99%. They're just trying to hold on for dear life here.
And they're going to keep pushing forward. Florida still flooding onto the point. Primal Rage is out now.
That's right. Side player and Zupa just got back. Manitin Demecta. There goes Swoosh again. And overtime will be expiring. Nice kill from Jonak at the end there. Still going to deal with Zupe. That's not going to take long. And take a breather, Jonak. Do Omnics really need to do that? I don't know. Either way, NYXL taking the well.
They are going to take well, Doa. Pine did one of the most piney things I've ever seen to start that fight, which he was hiding in a corner while Samuelby baited them into the room, and he came out and got a double stun on a flashbang. So I think we do have a replay of that in just a little bit, but you never expect this. Pine plays this very bizarre style where he enjoys being places that people have no right to be, including right here. Look at that. Up, there goes Zebasai. I mean, just deleted. He runs back to his team immediately. You talk about high risk, high reward, but this is a player that sometimes does things that honestly professional players shouldn't do, but if you're not checking your corners and paying attention to your fundamentals, he will exploit you.
Hey man, if you're Pine, you can do whatever you want.
He does.
I know. That's true.
That's what makes him such an electric player to watch.
Electric Pine. Sounds like a fire hazard.
Sounds like one of your bands from high school.
It is. I think I played in that one, yeah. Florida Mayhem trying to tie this one up on Lighthouse. Pushing NYXL back for the moment. What I have to do is wait a bit longer. There the dive comes in. Counter dive for NYXL. Pine and Arco down though. Supa gets him with a biotic orb actually. Echo backing away, and whoa, Florida crushing that fight.
And that's the way this comp is supposed to work for the Mayhem. Yep. They saw Sabilby and Jonas were on the opposite side of the map. Everyone else is corralled in that alley, and there's a ton of damage coming out of the Tracer, the Diva, and the Sombra. And when you back it up with the Moira, you're not going to burst through there.
I mean, you throw that orb through there, too. Whoa, Jonas.
Yeah, no. There's no res on the side of the Mayhem.
Yeah. Supa down early, and that's gonna maybe give New York this point back in a hurry here. Zebasai down, yeah, goodbye supports for Florida. Now it's just a scramble to try to delay as long as you can. Keep New York from taking that back.
It's not gonna be too long that they can delay either.
That's right, first to sacrifice himself on the altar of control percent. And that's gonna be about it. New York Excelsior gives up 35% to Florida, but they're gonna get their own percent building now.
But because of Jonak opening that up with a damage boosted shot, they don't have to use any ultimates really to take the points. So they're going to be feeling great sitting on a 5 ult bank right now, flipping it based off of a pick.
It's crazy just how well Ark and Jonak work together in terms of setting Jonak up with that damage boost on the Zenyatta. Flashbang comes in. Pine has to exit the high ground in a hurry, but he gets zapped. Swoosh comes in, though, with the Primal Rage at the end. Tavik now waiting for it. He's got the EMP. See if he needs to use it or not. A nice hack on Nemeko. May not even require that EMP. Gonna use it in the end just to confirm the finish of the fight here. Sound barrier as well. Florida having to use a lot to flip this one. New York not out of it just yet, though. There's another hack on Nemeko. Meanwhile, Art coming in from behind. Used that Valkyrie early on in the fight to keep a few people around from New York. Meko's still there. Finally, DMAC now, and he's going to use the self-destruct. Florida has to exit the point. Still, either way, a great delay from New York, and Florida may not even know. They can't even take it in the end.
No, they're going to be pushed back, Doa.
Insane.
Meko lived just long enough to become unhacked, which allowed him to get that self-destruct. Looked like a nice start there from the Florida Mayhem as they tried to deal with Pine on the high ground by opening up, but a lot of ults were committed before they could actually fight on the point itself. And Jonak, once again, avoids getting hit by the EMP, comes in with a trance, and cancels out all of the good that EMP would have done. He has been so elusive, and it's a testament to the New York shot calling that they know exactly when that EMP is up.
A Deadeye from Pine. Oh, and Saya player comes in. He had the pulse bomb. He was going to try to be tricky with that one, but Pine just a bit quicker on the trigger. Janus, meanwhile, in, batting Zebasai around, going after someone else now. And save will be, yeah. I think Florida may have a tough time taking this one. Goodbye, Swoosh.
It's only Saya player and Zupe close to the point now after Manitin falls. Saya player's going to try and get a pulse bomb, but I think it was eaten by Meko.
Now, that's 2 attempts to use that pulse bomb in the end there. Not working out. NYXL gets a 2-0 on Ilios. I don't know if you want to really charge up to a McCree and Deadeye and try to stick a pulse bomb to him. That's a bold move, Saya player. How about that?
It was. Timing was a bit off. Pine comes back into the XL lineup. It's been a while, but he looks damn good yet again, and that'll be the nail in the coffin for the Florida Mayhem. NYXL will be winning this match.
That's right. One more map to play, though. Florida Mayhem can at least come away with a game point if they can take map 4. We'll see if they can do just that. After this quick break, guys, we will be back with a final map between Florida and New York. See you then.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
On the last map of the Stage 2 Finals, the New York XL were looking to pull off the reverse sweep against the Fusion at Watchpoint Gibraltar. After losing the second point of the map in overtime, New York tried to hold a strong Philadelphia offense nearing the objective with less than 30 seconds remaining. That's when Sabiobi stepped up.
Sabiobi, again, looking for those supports. Boombox is getting used to this by now, being threatened. Poco dips back straight away, but his stick is still there! Zenyatta blown to smithereens, and Sabiobi's not done there! 2 supports for the price of 1.
After New York pushed Philly back near their spawn, the XL's Tracer used his Pulse Bomb to eliminate Boombox's Zenyatta, and followed up by taking out Neptuno's Mercy before he could get Valkyrie. Art quickly resurrected Sabiobi after his clutch elimination of Philly supports, as New York eliminated the Fusion players with time ticking away.
And now NYXL could choose to spawn camp here. The Celtics tried to force them away with 2 seconds left. There won't be enough time. The Fusion stopped dead in their tracks.
New York went on to win the map and were crowned Stage 2 champions. That right there is the turning point where Sabiobi and the New York XL took a sour moment and turned it into something sweet. Presented by Sour Patch Kids Candy.
Oh, there you have it. NYXL, the champions of Stage 2, and also the champions of this match already. 3 wins over the Florida Mayhem. Still one more map to go. We are going to Route 66 to see if Florida can at least pick up a map win, but a couple substitutions to talk about here.
Yeah, I'm interested in these substitutions because now it's going to be Logic subbing in for Tavik. So it'll be Logic's and Saya player. And you know what that means, Doa? It means we are going to get our hoped for reunion of sorts between Libero and Saya player on opposite teams this time.
Libero back subbing in for Pine. NYXL keeping Janus, but that's right, Libero and Saya player were the 2 DPS for Meta Athena back in Korea. And these guys were a great duo because they were both versatile. One was kind of trending towards a hit scan, one was trending towards a projectile, and they really made a great pair in terms of enabling a lot of different unique compositions for Meta Athena back there. So fond memories of these 2 guys playing together, but now they will be mortal enemies upon the field of battle at the Blizzard Arena.
They will, Doa, and what this means for the Florida Mayhem is likely, as we expect oftentimes on Route 66, it will be Tracer and Widowmaker together, I would presume. We are not probably going to see as much Sombra on point A of this map because, of course, the hacking the health back is still good, but doesn't give you the ult charge anymore. And with Tavik out of the roster, it's possible Saya player might trend into the Sombra role as well, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things that's going to be interesting to watch for Florida Mayhem this stage is now they've got these new additions here, you know, not to mention Zappis as well. So we'll see how they kind of work people into their lineup, change things up a bit, and I'm glad we're getting to see a couple different DPS pairings here already.
Rawhide.
Rawhide. That's right.
Rawhide.
In case we've got the whip on command. Yeah. Rawhide. There we go.
But enough about your love life, Noah.
Okay. Oh, wow. 50 Shades of Zenyatta. What can I say?
He is rather gray, I must admit.
There you go. Hashtag orb of destruction. Anyway, NYXL on the defense. Florida Mayhem going to be attacking first as they have all day. No map wins yet, but you got a chance. Here on Route 66. Saya player swapping over to that Widowmaker at the end. Didn't think he was going to play the offensive Torbjorn. This isn't one of my ranked games. Saya player's not in those ranked games either.
But we are going to see the Diva Roadhog.
Diva Roadhog,
yeah, with the McCree and the Widowmaker. So this is a pick composition, all about trying to put some damage up front and get some kills and play around the payload here because you're not going to have a big barrier.
It is also anti-Sombra too, and like you said, although we aren't going to see probably as much Sombra on the defense on point A Route 66, better safe than sorry sometimes, according to Florida Mayhem. Apparently.
It also makes it super difficult for New York to actually approach the payload right now with the composition. You have to deal with the flashbang and the hook simultaneously. Saya player as well, providing that cover from range.
It's kind of like an anti-Sabiobi comp. Really,
yes.
when you think about it.
It is, but it's also really hard just to even approach the payload.
Yeah, true enough. Oh, Saya player taking it to a Libero.
And he will take out his former teammate.
Remember me? Oh, Arc! That was new memories created there.
That was that was actually, I think, a 3 or 4 person flashbang that was just hit there by Logix.
Man, Saya player delivering the finishing blows. 3 kills gets Florida a very quick point A.
Yeah, Logix just dropped around the flank after Libero had been taken out because he knew there was no longer a long-range threat.
Yeah.
Pops up behind the clustered members of the NYXL and hits a massive flashbang.
True enough. A lot of ultimates about ready to come online for Florida Mayhem too. Same could be said for the NYXL side, but for now Florida with a little bit of an advantage.
And that's going to be the infra site out already. New York now cowering behind the buildings.
Yeah. And here we go. And if you would have asked me, you know, who out of these DPS players, side player and Libero, would be the better Widowmaker, traditionally you would probably say Saya player as well.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you're kind of expecting the duel to go that way if you kind of know what these guys have been good at historically.
Yeah, Libero only really started playing Widowmaker in stage 2.
Yeah.
He's been great on the hero, but Saya player has been known for the Widow for a lot longer.
Dear.
Oh boy, that could have been huge.
Oh no. He's like, there goes my play of the game.
There was a trance there if he had hit Zuppe. He could have tranced the pulse bomb off, but that was 2 supports and a Widow clustered together, and you definitely want that one back if you're Samuelby.
Well, there's the couple support ultimates coming out for Florida Mayhem. As the attack from NYXL comes in, Janus trying to exit the fight there, down to about half health himself.
That was actually a pretty big misplay from the side of Florida, committing both of those ultimates. Meko, all he had to do was sit on the payload, so there was no payload movement, and the rest of New York just vanished.
Well, Florida kind of layered those support ultimates either way, so even if the attack would have really come in, it wasn't staggered properly.
Yeah, and there was no way for them to engage easily, so New York just ran away and kept the payload in place.
Yep. Works well. Swoosh, meanwhile, a one-man army, but one man cannot be an island. An army. Well, one can be. I don't know. Phrasing is not something I'm good at.
Idioms.
Idioms.
Always a struggle.
Or phrasing, or really anything to do with the English language sometimes. Yep. But I can talk about 90s cartoons with you. We can do that.
All right. I always defer to you for the 90s cartoon expertise. It's true.
How long has it been since I mentioned Cowboys and Fu Mesa?
I didn't say thank you.
You're welcome. Either way. I know what you were thinking in your heart. Your heart brain was telling me this. Well, New York holding the payload pretty well so far. Samuelby and Libero putting a lot of pressure on the supports especially. Now a stick onto Manitin. He's going to go ahead and pop that self-destruct. Ooh, fighting for his life. Can't get back in the mech though. Samuelby right there to finish him off. And Florida sent packing one more time.
And they popped the infra site at the start of that engagement, but again, they don't get a lot of value from that ultimate. There was an attempt on the flank there from Saya player, but they are not looking particularly well coordinated, and it's probably one of the things they want to introduce Saya player, their new players, into their lineup slowly over time to try and gain that synergy.
And you always have to worry about those Jonak shots coming through the choke points too.
Absolutely you do. Absolutely you do. It's always in the enemy team.
That's why. Zuppe nearly dead there. And a shot from Jonak now. Janus a little bit low. He could use an orb of healing. That's kind of, get a little bit of healing. They're going to go and use the Transcendence actually. I think they're kind of waiting for that dive. Now the Transcendence coming in from Zuppe as well.
Yeah, Florida Mayhem feeling confident because Libero has already been taken out of this fight.
There goes Jonak. Okay. It's working out so far. Florida Mayhem pushing this payload forward. Finally, they got the Transcendence out a little bit earlier than they had to use theirs and carried that through.
But critically, what Jonas did at the end of that fight was just go to the payload and die on it. It forced the rest of the Mayhem to come back and kill him, and that means the payload was delayed long enough for the New York XL to actually fight here potentially at the end of point B. Otherwise, that would not have been the case.
Well, Florida trying to hold up the choke point to prevent just that. Arc going to go ahead and use the Valkyrie. Janus down early, so that's a support ultimate that New York isn't really going to get a lot of benefit from.
Yeah, the Libero, though, does have the infra side up, so they have to be very careful. Logix is trying to duel him in the back lines, and he will win.
Janik and Libero both going down now. Echo, nobody really there to keep his mech alive, and that's going to be point B taken by Florida. A little over 2 minutes in the time bank for them to try to complete Route 66.
Yeah, Logix playing that well, finding Libero and distracting him because they knew that infra site was a big problem, and now Manitin pushes forward to grab Samuelby. That'll get some movement on the payload.
You can see Meko trying to save him, but there's only so much you can do. You only get so much defensive matrix, and Meko is one of the better divas at keeping his team alive in those situations, but not that time. Well, Manitin does get the res from Zebasai. Logic's trying to find that kill into Libero. Can he get him? Goes for the one clip, can't quite finish him off, and now Arc there with the healing. Logic's forced to back away. He's got Swoosh with him though. Libero and Janus both going down. Arc a little bit low. Is a pulse bomb coming in? We will see. Save will be down. Swoosh just zoning out. That payload is still moving forward. Florida looking pretty convincing here on point C so far.
They are, and they're getting the staggers too. So New York unable to even stop this payload. It's going to go all the way to point C. There's a minute left, and this is going to have to be the last stand really for the Excelsior. That's not going to help.
Yeah, going back into spawn doesn't save him that. If you take the pulse bomb with you, Florida nearly has a payload there. Oh, but they lose Swoosh to Jonak again. A bit of help from Arc, of course. Who else? Manitin self-destruct as a support ultimate's used by Zupa and Jonak. Arc still has that Valkyrie here, so Florida in a little bit of trouble if they want to keep pushing forward. They do get Jonak though, so maybe they can do it. Big respawn advantage, of course, for NYXL, and they are slowly grinding this one out.
Yeah, still 45 seconds, so the staggers are not going to come through there as NYXL falls back. They barely don't take out Manitin in that mech, and Logic's on the Tracer. So still one assault possible for the Florida Mayhem, but they've got to get through a Valkyrie, and they have to fight into the Infra site.
I mean, they're going to have maybe Pulse Bomb, and that's going to be it for Ultimates, really. Maybe that Valkyrie, if the fight lasts long enough. It's going to be very tough, though, for Florida to finish this one.
I mean, they have to kill Libero or distract him basically right now, because if he uses that Infra site, she is about to. They're gonna have a terrible time getting onto this payload.
Now they're onto the payload right now. NYXL, though, with a lot of tools to push him off of it. Killing Logic certainly helps. Now Zupa just gonna get dove. Nobody there to help him out. So already a 6v4. Janus taken out. So New York, or rather New York kind of losing a tank, but looks like they might be okay there. Manitin getting one kill. They've got that Valkyrie. Zebasai did build it up in time.
That's a big pick.
Yeah, Libero down. Saya player coming in with the headshot at the end. Meko staying alive on this payload for so long, though. Trying to hold on for the respawns to come in. Manitin with that self-destruct gets back into the mech just in time. And the tanks might be able to push it through. I don't know, man. Meko D-Mech, can they get it there? They're so close. Sabiel, he comes in at the very end. Can they push him off? They need more people. Saya player firing from behind, but not anymore. And it looks like in the end,
Janus is back with the Primal Rage, so it looks like they're going to be able to stabilize here, Doa.
Oh, that was a close one. Logix can't do it himself, and NYXL will hold at the very last second, but man, what an effort from Florida.
Yeah, really nice at the end there. Saya player making sure that he stays safe throughout the Infra site, and then winning the Widow duel opened a lot up for the Florida Mayhem. So they don't quite finish Route 66, but they get damn close.
Yeah. Well, frustrating, but I mean, you've pretty much put that payload at the point where the other team more or less needs to complete the map to win it.
Yeah, and we'll see if New York XL is up to the task. You know, the Mayhem, they've struggled on Route 66. They're 1-5 on this map overall, but that was a pretty good push, all things considered.
Well, you know, I think we really are seeing some pretty massive improvement in a short time from Florida Mayhem. You know, like the desk mentioned at the start of this match, 3 out of their 4 match wins in the Overwatch League were in their last 5 series at the end of stage 2. So clearly Florida, despite, you know, the looks like a possible 4-0 here from New York, on the one hand, it's New York Excelsior. These guys are on the top of the league. What do you expect? They're amazing. And Florida has actually made a good show of it today.
Yeah, they have. And interestingly, New York, in their previous 2 meetings, neither of those were 4-0s, even when the Florida Mayhem was not looking as good as they are right now. One of them was a 3-0 with a tie. The last one was actually a 3-1, and Florida won on control on Lijiang Tower. So there were opportunities for Florida previously, and New York has struggled a bit with them compared to the other, I would say, lower tier teams in the league. But Florida has been turning it around, as we see in the past few weeks of Stage 2.
I mean, this team, when they came into the Overwatch League, too, had a deceptively high amount of individual talent. I mean, maybe even not so deceptively, actually. They were misfits. These guys were great. I'm saying they were the team misfits, not they were like literally misfits from society. They were a very good Overwatch team called Misfits. Things haven't quite worked out the same way so far in Owl, but hey, right now they are certainly looking better. They gotta hold off New York Excelsior. Getting a map win at least would be something to feel happy about coming away from. in this match.
Yeah, Libero and Arc are staying back, and they see the composition from Florida, and they opt into the Tracer Widow. So they were doing scouting to see if they wanted to run this. Likely they were seeing if there was going to be a Sombra and whether they wanted to play McCree. But that is not going to be the selection, and Libero wants some revenge here on Saya Player, it would appear.
I would say so. I mean, Saya Player getting that 3K in point A on Florida's attack. And this is a great duel too, because you've got the former teammates fighting each other. Libero coming into this, you know, arguably is the historical underdog in a Widow v Widow battle between these guys. And he looks a bit timid, honestly, from the way we see Libero play normally.
Jonas gonna start to engage here, trying to take the high ground, does push Saya Player onto the low ground, but there's Saya Player finding Libero, who was hiding behind the payload.
Gets Jonak as well. Saya Player, now he takes down Arc. Saya Player just going nuts on this Widowmaker right now, and yeah, there you go. I mean, it's so funny to watch, because when you see Libero, like he's a good Widowmaker. He's really kind of come up in that role, but now we're gonna take this from Saya Player's view, and you can see Saya Player still's got that edge. Yeah, he was so ready.
Oh, that's just a great flick onto Jonak, and then there's the fadeaway kill. And into black, I guess we went.
Right. It was too graphic.
It was too graphic.
Right there. That's
I'm sorry, censored.
Yeah, that's right. Just too good. Well, New York Excelsior held up quite a bit, down to 2 minutes on the time bank about right now. That's going to be Valkyrie from Zebasai, actually. Interesting. New York must have found some way to put some pressure on him. Zebasai coming up. They're really kind of trying to keep New York pushed as far back to spawn as they can. Saya Player with another kill on Jonak. What Florida's doing really well right now is creating a lot of space for Saya Player to find these kills.
Not only that, Swoosh actually Primal Rage punted Jonak straight into Saya Player's crosshairs. So they're not only making space, they are repositioning player for Saya Player to pick off.
It's like clay pigeon shooting.
Omnic shooting, I'm sure.
Metal pigeon shooting. That was the name of the first album that my band had.
Electric Fine.
That's right. Oh, here we go. Florida striking back. Libero down. Gets rezzed again, though. Gets taken down again. Saya Player, he's just refusing to lose this Widow duel. Logic's getting the finishing blow off of the damage of Saya Player. Loaded onto Jonak, though.
I mean, he's popping off, though. Saya Player,
seriously is.
To put this in perspective, on Route 66 so far is 20 eliminations, 14 final blows. Libero is, what, 8 eliminations and 2 final blows, and now he has given up. It is Genji time.
I guess so, and this is much more in Libero's wheelhouse. Traditionally, again, he was more the projectile player. Saya Player was a hit scan guy in Meta Athena. He's proving it. He's like, yeah, man, nice Widowmaker. How would I put a hole in it? All right, Saya Player goes and pops the ultimate. Libero comes in on Supa. Yeah, Libero on a much more comfortable pick for him. As New York tries to push it forward, they've only got 40 seconds left. They got to make it happen now, and they will with some kills onto Zebasai and Manitin. Florida Mayhem getting slowly picked apart here on the defense, and looks like that may be enough to finally get NYXL point A.
Yeah, with both of the Florida supports dying with their ults up, the fight was effectively over. Question now for Florida is, you do have an opportunity potentially to come in here. Are you going to try and stall the cart with Logics and then wait? And they are, so they definitely can do this.
That's a bold Valkyrie from Zebasai. He's kind of on his own. Yeah, he gets picked off. Kind of an easy target there. Here comes a Transcendence. They're trying to push NYXL into overtime, and it looks like they may be able to do that, but I don't know if they're going to win the fight, though. Manitin down. There goes Saya Player. And so they will force it into OT, but NYXL definitely winning that fight, and I don't know if that was quite worth it for Florida.
It was not, Doa, because their tanks weren't quite there in time. They mistimed that. Had their tanks been able to be there, the problem is Logix went in, stalled out the cart, used his rewind, and Zebasai was healing him that whole time in the Valkyrie. But as soon as New York XL was like, okay, well, where are the tanks? Where's the actual ability to stall out the cart? They realized that once the rewind was down, they could just jump into the air and actually just take out Zebasai. And then that's when Zupe didn't want to commit the trance anymore. Unfortunately, it was already there, so they use a lot for virtually nothing.
Yeah. The spawns also get staggered quite a bit. Oh, here comes Libero with the Dragon Blade. Zupa down already. Saviel B grabbed that one, but man, the damage coming in from this Genji is just insane. And that will be about that for that fight. Florida Mayhem getting kind of wrecked. And the issue here for point B for them too is that by getting staggered like that at the end of point A, they're giving up a lot of control over point B, and we saw NYXL take the high ground and be really ready for that fight.
It's not just that, though. If you use both of those support ultimates, you have to hold, otherwise you just get punished so hard. And now XL has time to think about their ult sequencing. Of course, they use the Valkyrie, but just hold on to Jonak's ultimate.
Whoop. No kill. Got really close to finishing up Saya Player there. Saya Player over on the 76 now, as you can see. Arc gets taken out with that pulse bomb. Ooh, Logix finds a good one there. Sabe will be very low, needs a bit of healing, finally gets it. Gets a kill into Logix too, so NYXL just kind of brawling this one out.
That's only the tanks left from the Mayhem on the payload.
Not anymore. Manatin, last one standing, and he's demeched and removed. So that's going to be a very quick point B for NYXL. 2 minutes on the clock coming into C.
And that's what's so hard about making these calls in the moment on Overwatch, because if you don't make that hold on point A, you think, all right, let's go for the full hold. And it was basically an uncontested streets phase here to point B. And now you're in a position where, sure, there's not a lot of time, but you have opened the door for the NYXL to finish this map and take the win.
You know, that said, Florida Mayhem with a bit of an alt edge for the moment, and New York, because of that long point A, doesn't have a ton of time for point C. This is the position you want your opponent to be in if you're the defense. Early Transcendence used, Ebisai popped that Valkyrie as well. They lose Saya Player though, 2 support ultimates, and they couldn't keep Soldier 76 alive. Oh boy, I don't know. Kills on both sides, so maybe New York, no, with swoosh down. Okay, yeah, they will have to back out a little bit, but
the payload's moving, though. I mean, the problem is that you use both your support ults and the tac visor again, but you don't stop the payload. So, in a way, you didn't get any value out of that. I guess you got some ults out of New York Excelsior at the same time. It's going to come down to this one fight, and you're not going to have the ult economy that you would like.
The nice thing, at least, is neither team will have support ultimates, which does benefit Florida a little bit.
But the Dragon Blade could be really messy here. That's why they're focusing down Libero.
Yeah, they're really trying to chase him. Now Manatin out of the way, and Libero unleashed with that Dragon Blade. Manatin first of all, releashed by Swoosh. Comes in and shuts that one down. Self-destruct for Meko. Florida gets out of the way. Jonak gets some space to come in. Firing away at Zebasai. Can't quite get the kill down now. Turns his attention onto Swoosh. A little bit low health. Nearly taken up by that Winston, and he stays alive. Just barely. Gotta run, though.
Arc keeps him alive. I think I saw 9 HP there at one point in time, but he stays upright.
About as close as it gets. Nice shot on his Saya Player. Whoa.
Saya Player was ulting. He had just tagged.
That's right, Manatin down, he was demeched, didn't have a chance to stay alive. Oh, hey, not his hand, he needs that to hold the gun. Oh, the disrespect from Jonak as New York Excelsior pushes forward to try to take Route 66. Florida with a chance to defend, though they're gonna walk in with the Transcendence. Gonna use both support ultimates simultaneously again. They gotta win this fight, though. They have to win this one. New York doing a much better job of staggering their support ultimates. Coming in, taking out Manatin. Florida with some mismanaged ultimates. They've got the respawn advantage, but that's the only edge they have, and it may not be even enough right there.
Great patience from New York, realizing that they can stall it out with their support ults. They come in with the later healing, and it's all clean up right now.
Yeah, that's right. Zupa taking down GG. New York Excelsior with the 4-0. Florida making it competitive, but having some pretty critical errors at critical times there in a lot of maps.
Yeah, I just keep going back to that point A attempt at defense in my mind, and it's just a miscommunication. Sometimes that can happen, but I think if they don't all in right there and they play a little bit more conservatively, New York really probably will never even get that far into the map.
Well, actually, on every single point on that defensive effort from Florida, they layered the support ultimates. They use them at the same time and lost them the fight each time. Something to consider. You go back and you watch those VODs for review. New York Excelsior, though, our Stage 2 champions, coming in strong here in Stage 3. A 4-0 is how they're going to start this round of Overwatch League.
And they continue to be exceptional regardless of patch, regardless of meta. Has to be said that it usually takes a couple of weeks for the new patch to really settle in here in Owl before we start to see a lot of differentiation and strategies from the previous stage.
True.
But for now, New York's still looking good.
Absolutely. No shock there. Well, that's going to be it for the match, guys. We'll be back in a bit to see what the desk has to say about those games. Do not go anywhere. Short break. Some bright spots from Florida, no doubt about it, but NYXL coming out on top. See you guys in just a few.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. The big boss pod is back in action, and the NYXL fans couldn't be happier about it. The New York squad walks away with a clean 4-0 sweep over the Mayhem today. Welcome back, everybody. It's Puckett at the desk, and I got my buddies with me once again. It's the roommates who live in separate rooms. Johnny made us very aware of the living situation.
Thank you,
Reinforced
Appreciate
alongside Sideshow once again. Guys, let's talk about Game 3, because Game 3, we saw two new faces, and one a little bit familiar, but we haven't seen Pine since February 23rd. That was over 6 weeks ago. Back in action today. How'd you rate his McCree?
I thought it was really good, but really, apart from this play and a couple of others, I thought it was actually more conservative than we normally or previously saw from.
Well, less streaky, I guess we would say.
Yes.
I mean, he just consistently popped off rather than popping off and then failing by overextending.
Yeah.
So a bit more consistent popping off, I guess we can see. Look at Pine moving forward.
Yeah, and I quite like that, because previously he's been quite a feast and famine guy. Even when he played on Widowmaker and stuff like this, he's always going for these big plays. He's always trying to make the best of whatever he can. He goes for the clutch situations, like Monty was saying.
Yeah.
But he also overextends quite a lot, and a bit of a liability. Really the only player on NYXL who would do that. And now if they manage to control him, they put a bit of a leash on Pine, then I think it'll be better for them as a team overall. They'll get all the best
New York
parts.
is not throwing away any games. And it's good to see Pine back in the lineup, because if you watched Stage 2,
you could see us talking about Pine having some struggles. He was away from home. Well, you saw if you were on social media, he was out in New York City. He was hanging out with the team quite a bit. Great to see him back in action today. But the real player I want to focus in on is Saya Player. The new pickup from Florida Mayhem was in action here to kick off Stage 3. What did we learn about him?
Well, it was difficult actually to judge his performance on Tracer on Ilios because he's playing into a McCree, into a team that's just trying to peel him away.
And Cybele.
Yes, and ended that map 2 for 7, 2 final blows, 7 deaths. So he didn't get much done there, but I don't think that's an indication of him being a poor Tracer player in any sense.
No, and not really. We also have to give him time to sort of make the adjustment. I actually had a chance to sit down with Florida, and from what I gathered, Saya Player, he was still picking up on the English, etc., with the communication. And so we see the raw skill here is just popping off on Widow, right?
Yeah.
And even on the Tracer, it's really good. But he needs some time to adapt to the team and get the communication down. But just looking from this, I think it's a great prospect.
And I see a lot of Widowmaker here from Saya Player. Does that free up Logix now? Does this unlock something compositionally for the Florida Mayhem? Or could Tvik normally fill that role?
I would say Tvik is more of the jack of all trades, libero kind of player. So this is more, you're emphasizing. Yes. So you're more emphasizing on the individual skill from Saya Player and Logix. It's sort of like playing rock, paper, scissors, but removing scissors and be like, yeah, but I have a really good rock.
We got huge rocks, bro.
Great rock. So
all right.
Sort of, it kind of works, I guess.
As we take a look at Game 4, let's focus in on New York a little bit in these highlights. But things were looking pretty good for Florida. On the attack, they're able to push it almost to that point C, and they almost full held on point A.
Yes, I think you've got to give Saya Play a massive amount of credit here. Got this clutch to get them started, get the ball rolling when they were on the attack. And then when it's on defense, again, his Widowmaker is unassailable for the NYXL. Libero not able to shut that down with his individual performance. And Florida, you know, they got a lot of mileage out of this. They were almost able to complete the map. This is a good performance from Florida Mayhem.
Yeah, they actually made New York upset. We could see as well towards the end. A bit of a disrespect. Probably a bit upset that Saya Player made it so hard for New York XL overall. And it wasn't really, you know, Florida Mayhem's teamwork or anything. It was just Saya Player popping off as a new addition to this team. So it was really exciting to see what happens when you take Florida Mayhem's structure and then you just apply a little bit of expertise and just some popping off.
Yeah, because they have such a room to grow in terms of that teamwork and strategy. They're not playing at the best level in terms of teamwork, right? And they're still able to make it close, at least here on Route 66, against the best team in the league. So if they are actually able to nail the teamwork and little pieces work together, Swoosh and Logix in particular, I think, they'll look a lot better later on.
Now, we know every map matters. When we look towards the stage playoffs, it's all going to come down to your match overall record, but if there's a tie, it comes down to the maps. A big win today for New York with the 4-0, but it was looking for a moment like this could have been a 3-1. And Monty mentioned Florida, this was their game. They threw it away with a missed defensive play. Sideshow, I know you got the telestration. Break it down for us.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on what Monty was saying there because they had this great performance on Widowmaker and then they failed to defend this. So the first thing to point your eyes towards is the time left on the clock because, as I said, Saya Player essentially set them up with a great win condition. There's only 23 seconds left here. So the play for the Florida Mayhem is normally to have Logix come in through this lower tunnel. He's going to use his blinks and then he's going to use his recall to just stall the cart before it gets there. At the same time, Zebasai is going to come in over the top while his tanks arrive from the left-hand side. So they've got people coming in through all exits so that they can't get blocked. And they're aiming to stall out the cart and then connect their Valkyrie and their Transcendence, which they freely didn't use in the previous fight. They were happy just to lose that fight. So Logix comes in. Now here is the mistake. It's Zebasai coming in too early on and popping this Valkyrie before Logix even uses his abilities. You gotta have faith in Logix here to zip around the point and actually use the recall properly. So as you see this come forward, Zebasai's already on half health by the time Logix uses this recall. Boom! There's the recall. He's back up to full HP. He doesn't even require this healing, and Zebasai is on half health. And so by the time his tanks come in, by the time Manatin even gets there, Zebasai's been taken down. The Discord Cord's on top of him, and the tanks can get no value out of it. Zupik comes in, kind of wastes his Transcendence, and this is a fight that they had all the pieces ready to win and set themselves up for it, but they just aren't able to execute properly.
And credit to the New York players. You saw Janice jumping right on it. You see, of course, the Diva, Meko, looking over at that Valkyrie as well. So very nice job coming in there as they take down the Mercy. At the end of our first match, it's all New York. They walk away with their 19th match victory. They've only dropped 2 this entire series, or this entire season, and we get a chance to see them later this week. Johnny, for any new fans, who is the best player on the team today, right now? Johnny,
the best player on the team right now is our player of the match is going to be JJoNak.
Player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. It's JJoNak. Why'd you pick him this time around, Johnny?
Because I think they played so well around in this game, especially on Blizzard World. They weren't really comfortable on Blizzard World, but they're so comfortable just playing this passive style, and Arc just basically babysitting JJoNak, feeding him the damage boost and the healing, of course. So I think their passive play style really showcased it today with JJoNak getting so much damage out of it.
Yes, and I think the fact that Sabiobi can do so much work just on his own in the backline facilitates this style. But JJoNak is the star player and is the entire thing that they're building the team around. And when the guy's having such consistently good performances, why not?
Gotta love the damage over the healing here. 30, almost 36,000.
Ridiculous.
To 30,000. Very impressive stuff once again from the support player from the New York XL. He helps them get a 4-0 victory today. That's just match number 1 though, and we are seeing 5 of our top 6 teams today, including Philadelphia when they take on the Boston Uprising, coming up next.